don't you turn against me?
I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
You're not with me, then you're my enemy.
You turned her against me!
You have done that yourself.
Release your anger. Only your hatred can destroy me.
Bring balance to the force, not leave it in darkness. You are the chosen ones.
Hello, and welcome to Who Shot First, a Star Wars controversy podcast, your one-stop shop for all controversies that have plagued the Star Wars universe. I'm your host, Alex Hull.
And I'm your other host, Ethan Toth.
And today we get to talk about everyone's favorite topic, midichlorians.
Boo.
No, not a fan, I hear. We got
I
our
am
not a
not.
fan.
No.
So we are wrapping up our three-part controversy on the wonderful prequel Phantom Menace.
That's right.
We did Phantom Menace in general. Then last time we did Jar Jar Binks.
Yep.
And now we get to talk about midichlorians.
That's right. A perfect cap to the Phantom Menace discussion.
Yes.
Controversy.
Oh, yes. It will be very, very fun.
Okay.
So
I'm ready.
You're ready for it. Excellent.
That's right.
So just a quick overview for everyone at home. Midichlorians are a life form that live inside our cells, and I will actually let Qui-Gon Jinn explain them.
Master, sir, I heard Yoda talking about midichlorians. I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
Midichlorians are a microscopic life form that resides within all living cells.
They live inside me.
Inside your cells, yes. And we are symbionts with them.
Symbionts?
Life forms living together for mutual advantage. Without the midichlorians, life could not exist, and we would have no knowledge of the Force. They continually speak to us, telling us the will of the Force. When you learn to quiet your mind, you'll hear them speaking to you.
I don't understand.
So we get to dive into that. So those are basically what they are. They're little microscopic organisms living inside our cells, into the cells of Jedi that let them communicate with the Force. So we are going to focus mainly, I think, on the movies, but it does dive deeper into the Clone Wars, and we'll talk a little bit about the Clone Wars with that. But go ahead, my friend, and let us know where you stand and why.
It just seemed, trying to find the best way now how to say this. It just seemed like another thing that wasn't necessary, and like I just, to think that not just anybody could become a Jedi, that you have to have like a certain concentration of these, tiny little life forms, or that, I don't know. It's why don't you talk about that first while I kind of like gather my thoughts about it?
Gather your thoughts? No, yeah, you can think about it. No,
yeah,
no worries.
I'm just trying to find the best way to like
think it out.
across.
No, yeah, we can think it out.
No,
you can definitely think it out. I don't want to influence you, so we can just talk for a little bit. But yeah, no, you can think it out. I'll let you know. But what I found, and this won't go in the podcast, but
okay, sure,
yeah,
right.
Go ahead and you can chat. Or you can think about what you're gonna write.
Okay, because
go ahead.
Okay, because basically, they were, because there's no mention of them.
Explanation of so. Okay, so here's what I'll do. Okay, so I'm gonna explain, and I'll do this for you and for those at home. What happened with? I'll explain the Force as what people know. Okay, so this is what we get to explain the Force. In A New Hope, it was explained as
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
And that's all that was said about it. It was
Right.
something that was in between, that was something that connected all of us.
For my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you. Here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between the land and the ship.
Nothing was said of it, again, of what it was. But anybody could have it. There wasn't a way to be like, you're going to have it, you're not. Then in Phantom Menace, George decided to create midichlorians, or at least that's where he first showed midichlorians.
Right.
And that is where he came up with the idea, or demonstrated the idea, that there are little, I wouldn't say insects, but little things inside your cells,
Right.
that help you communicate with the Force.
Right.
And basically saying that you need these things to connect with the Force. And so you can, so if these things didn't exist, we would not be able to connect with the Force, and therefore we would have to, like, life couldn't exist because everybody has the Force. It's just a matter of how much you have, is the argument.
Okay.
So
That's a good refresher of the explanation in A New Hope.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Because, right. To me, midichlorians made it less spiritual. It made it less faith-based, maybe, and more just,
scientific.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's sort of like putting your faith in the Force, but now there's a way just to tell whether that's even worth it or not. Because, if when they say, may the Force be with you and stuff, to me that it carries less weight knowing that there's sort of this predetermined amount of Force in everybody, that I don't like the restraint that it puts on that sort of idea.
Yeah.
That I can't be as in tuned with the Force as I want, or as I wish I could be, because of this concentration of microorganisms inside of me determines that's not possible, or whatever.
Yeah. No, because I will say I'm not a big fan of midichlorians. I personally don't like them, but I'm seeing, as with a lot of these topics that I've noticed, is like I'm seeing my girlfriend helps me a lot with this, in that, like, I see the merits of one side of, like, okay, that's an interesting merit there. So I'm not, if you like the midichlorians, I'm not mad. I'm not entirely excited that they're there, but I understand the big reason that I was not for them. And for me, it was very much, I would agree with the spirituality of, or at first it was just like, I wanted to be a Jedi when I was a kid. Like, I wanted to be a Jedi. And with that, like, brief, basic explanation in A New Hope of it's a energy field that binds us together, like, anybody could have it. There was no, you have it, you don't. It was like, you never knew. You didn't know how you knew. So, like, I was definitely that kid who sat at the traffic light and was like, change, and it changed sometimes. You're like, yeah, I've got the Force. Like, and it was just like, it created the idea that anybody could be a Jedi, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And so with my dislike for it came when they, we can check your blood. It's not this, but when I was at my most, like, hatred of it, it's like, it's like the Force is a blood disease. Like, they can just check your blood, and and you're like, cool. Like that doesn't sound like fun or spiritual in any way.
Right.
And so it's just like, well, what's the point? So that was my big problem with it. I very much believe in the Force, and I actually think it's a real thing. And so that's the spirituality of myself. And so I really enjoy the spirituality of Star Wars and the Force itself.
Yeah.
But creating that it's something in your blood that not everybody can have, and you can just test it. And you're like, okay, you don't have it. Too bad. And it's
too bad.
It's not like there's faith of like, I have faith that I have it and I can do things. That's to me where it's like size matters not. To me, that kind of goes away with that because it talks about how, Anakin Skywalker has more midichlorians than any Jedi ever. And you're like, even higher than Obi-Wan or than Yoda. And so you're like, okay, then he has to be the most powerful Jedi ever. And it's like, I thought you became a powerful Jedi through training and like faith discipline and everything, not just an automatic knowledge and everything.
I'm already I've already been predetermined to be like crazy powerful no matter what.
Right. And so, and I mean, like I'm okay with predetermining and stuff like that. Like I understand that there's prophecies and that's where George wanted to go with it. And that's the best argument, I think, that I've heard for the midichlorians, is it was the only really way for George to show the world, like to show the audience that this guy's special versus just being like, we all know he's Anakin Skywalker. It's like, I got to show why he's special.
Right.
So that's the best argument I've heard for it. So yeah. Any other quick thoughts on it?
I was just going to mention that I was definitely, I still to this day, walk up to the automatic sliding doors and put my hand out. I'm 25 years old and I still do that. So
no, it's great. Like, yes. And we'll dive deeper into that stuff with Rise of Skywalker and everything about everybody being a Jedi and all that. But yeah, that's still a sore spot. Anyway, I'll ask you, which would you like to start? Would you like to start with the positives or would you like to start with the negatives?
I guess we'll just do positives first.
Okay. See if I can change your mind beforehand and then I'll switch you back.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Okay. Here we go.
This is where the fun begins.
So a big argument in a defense of the midichlorians is that the midichlorians are not actually the Force. It is a connection between the living and the cosmic Force. And this has to do with the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars talked a lot about the living versus the cosmic. Instead of it just being all encompassing the Force, it's the living versus the cosmic. So an article, Vulture magazine in 2017, Defense of Midichlorians, says that in no way means midichlorians are the Force, just that they help connect us to it. The Force is still vaguely defined, allowing you to map whatever meaning you want onto it. It just so happens that there might be little creatures that help us become more sensitive to it, and some people have more of them than others. Ask yourself, how different is it from our other notions of the Jedi? It had already been established that there are people who are somehow born with greater sensitivity to the Force, meaning we already accepted the idea that the Force as a birthright reserved for a chosen few, fundamentally different from the rest of us. Is it that big of a leap to say that their difference shows up in biology too? So,
I can see that. Do they talk about, offhand if they talk about like the living Force and stuff during the like the Mortis arc?
Yes, that's cosmic. That's cosmic Force.
That is. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Mortis arc is about the cosmic Force. Yeah.
Right.
So the argument is, that's a tough argument for me because I don't necessarily think that we think that that Jedi I don't view the Force as a birthright reserved for a chosen few.
Yeah.
Personally, but like I can see that argument of like, yep, they're better and they're stronger and they have that connection.
I suppose, right.
And so it's a valid argument. I would agree with that a little bit. George Lucas actually says in the 2005 interview, it means that between the Force, which is sort of a life force, and reality, the connectors between these two things are what we call midichlorians. They're kind of based on mitochondria, which are a completely different species, a different animal that live inside every single cell and allow it to live, allow it to reproduce, allow life to exist. They also, in their own way, communicate with the Force itself. The more you have, the more your cells are able to speak intuitively to the Force itself and use the powers of the Force. So that's George explaining midichlorians.
Okay. I guess, it can make sense. Sure. It can make sense that you can see how right. He would need to use, something like that to help explain Anakin's significance, to have that sort of prophecy. But yeah, I don't know. It's just something about it that still just kind of just seems unnecessary to me.
Yep.
Like you can, I hear the arguments, and it's not that like they don't make sense. It just doesn't seem.
Oh, we're not done. We've got a lot more.
Oh, okay. No, I know. Please continue.
Yes. I actually found like a whole blog post that explained why midichlorians matter.
Okay.
So it was a very interesting read.
Yeah.
And it's called The Star Wars Heresies. And it's at Blogspot, and it'll be in the show notes. But basically, so he says, very clearly, the film states that without midichlorians, we would have no knowledge of the Force. At no point does anyone say without midichlorians, the Force would not exist. Only no one would be connected to it. Likewise, the midichlorians speak to the Jedi, telling them the will of the Force. If the Force and the midichlorians were the same thing, Qui-Gon would have said, they tell us their will, as in the possessive. Contrary to popular understanding, not every spirituality has to be predicated on an internal war between religion and science, much less spirit and matter. This is a cultural oddity that Lucas is clearly trying to rectify with his inclusion of midichlorians. Like neural pathways in the brain, the midichlorians are conduits, the bridge connecting spirit and flesh to create a greater whole. Clearly, there has to be some kind of biological component at work, which is why the Force is inherited, or at least stronger in certain families than others. The only reason anyone knows that the Force spirit is because midichlorians matter. To object to midichlorians is really to object to Force users themselves, since the former is merely a microscopic view of the latter. Or to put it another way, as the Jedi can contact, communicate, and use the Force in the larger body of the galaxy, so midichlorians channel and use the Force in the larger body of the Jedi. It also introduces a crucial element to Star Wars mythology. The Jedi aren't that trustworthy, even if they're not being maliciously deceptive. So basically there, he's arguing that George consciously made a decision, which I wouldn't necessarily disagree with him, that George was making the conscious decision to try to connect spirituality and science. Because as we know and we live in today, spirituality and science don't often go together.
No, certainly not.
So his argument is that that's what George was trying to do, is show that you can have both spirituality and science together.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I just still don't like it.
Still don't like it. Okay. All right.
Still don't like it.
Still don't like it. All right. So here's one that might not necessarily change a lot, but I like this argument. I actually like this argument. First of all, living beings generate the living force, which is in turn powers the wellspring that is the cosmic force. All the energy from the living force, from all things that have ever lived, feeds into the cosmic force, binding everything and communicating to us through the midichlorians. The midichlorians connects the living force and the cosmic force. That's from Clone Wars. That's explaining everything. That's from Clone Wars. The main argument is that this is the reason the midichlorians become important is it is an indication Jedi have strayed from the feeling and leaned too hard into the science. So this is a way that they have strayed from the true Jedi way. This is according to the same Slate article that I earlier read about the defense of midichlorians. It states, maybe midichlorians are as stupid an explanation of the Force as their real-world critics say they are. What if high midichlorian counts had a loose correlation to Force sensitivity, but weren't actual causes of it, and the Jedi just misinterpreted their data? What if this was something like medieval doctors rambling on for centuries about humors and leeches, a faux scientific delusion that was wholeheartedly embraced by a guild of people who loved to preach their own greatness to the hoi polloi? Perhaps the Jedi had thonged themselves into utter stupidity on an array of matters. Midichlorians were just one manifestation of their high-minded idiocy. From that point of view, the prequels are a tragedy about well-intentioned intellectuals whose myopic condensation led them onto a path of war and self-immolation.
Wow, I like that. I always have kind of thought of the prequels as more of a tragedy than not.
Right.
But that really just kind of, what you just read really kind of made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Totally. The idea that you can, stray from your original beliefs or lose your way is something that I like.
Yeah.
You know. So
that's kind of
No, go ahead.
That's kind of where I've come to understand and sort of accept the midichlorians. Most people, like that argument I actually really like. The most people I talk to about midichlorians, they talk about it being science. And most people who don't have a problem with midichlorians talk about it being science. And they're like, oh, they've gone too scientific instead of spiritual, and that's the problem. I am okay with that argument, not super enthused with it, but with that one that I just read from Slate, I actually like that argument because it compares of like midichlorians might not actually matter. It might be just something that we think matters and the Jedi thought matters, and that's why they're not mentioned in the entire original trilogy, because we found out they don't matter.
Yeah.
So
so that's a cool thought.
Right.
So
now my only problem, and I say like my only issue with that theory and the kind of stuff that I think about with Star Wars in general, is that you have to figure this stuff out on your own. And like you have to make your own canon about this.
Yeah.
And to me, and everyone, and I'll say this is just a minor tangent of like, there are a lot of people who are just like, oh my gosh, George saw all of this. He planned every piece of this. And I'm just like, there's no way he did. Like he had one vision that that we all saw, and we can think up things that are really cool, and we're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, and we'll get into it more about the Padme dying scene, because there's a whole theory on that I can't understand. But we'll get that and it's George thought all of this, and you can headcanon your way to it, but it doesn't make sense unless you headcanon your way to it.
Yeah.
And so that's my little tangent on, like, I like headcanon, and I'm fine with that, but it's just like when everyone's like, oh my gosh, George had this all planned out, it's just so cool. And I'm like, no, he didn't.
There's no way.
No.
Yeah. No way.
So my last good thing about it article from 2019, actually, on Fansided, called Star Wars Midichlorians Explained, states that midichlorians are deeply important to the Star Wars story precisely because they make no sense. It forces us to question our interpretation of something we thought we've understood for years, yet have only scratched the surface of what it all means. At its core, midichlorians are identical to the essence of Star Wars, a mindless distraction from the larger point, but dig a little deeper and you'll start to look at things from a different prism.
Yeah.
Similar in that other thought of like, it's distracting and it's just seeing the smaller piece of it.
Right.
All right. Are you ready for the bad?
Yes. I will say though that my mind has been briefly
altered a bit.
Altered, yes, that's a good word.
Altered. So you're again. I think I brought you more toward the middle with me of that. Like you can there again. You have to headcanon it, like, but you can say I can accept them in the universe if I headcanon them this way. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Of like yes. So it's like it's not terrible that they're there, but I have to headcanon them in a certain way.
Yep.
I got a bad feeling about this.
So, according to the Chicago Tribune's Carlton Cuse.
Oh, the Chicago Tribune?
Chicago Tribune. He states that the midichlorians remove religion for science. One word ruined Star Wars for me, and probably for a generation of fans too. That word wasn't Jar Jar or Watto. It wasn't a character. It was midichlorians. With that one word, the mechanisms of the Force became less spiritual and more scientific. Major bummer. Never once did anyone ever say to me, or did it occur to me to say, what is the Force exactly? Trawl the message boards and you'll find blunter assessments. As a user on the Ars Technica forum put it, Star Wars, the Force is a mystical energy equals fantasy. Star Wars, the Force is caused by midichlorians equals FU. I mean, mystery exists in life, and we kind of always do go back to midichlorians. To the midichlorians example, your understanding the Force was not aided by knowing that there were little particles swimming around in the bloodstreams of Jedi.
Yes, exactly. You know, again, just like that, it doesn't. That's a perfect summary of how what I was trying to say earlier at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, of just it's you take the mystery out of it. Not everything has to be explained in perfect detail. Just let it be. Let the mystery stay. You know, that's part of the reason. You know, you become a Jedi is to learn and understand about the Force. And when you know, like, the major part of it, it's created or at least spoken through tiny organisms, it just takes you out of it. Yep.
That's big. Yeah, no. I mean, that's my biggest problem with it, is it takes the mystery out of it. Like, again, like nobody asked what was the Force. You just knew it. You're just like, it's an energy field. And like that was all you needed for the entire original trilogy. You didn't need to explain it. Now, I will say there is a large argument, and so I might have to edit this backwards, but we'll see. But there is the argument that, like, a lot of people were like, well, why did he do this now? There is evidence in like earlier scripts and other stuff that George Lucas did create midichlorians back in 1977. So it's not something that he just made up.
Just made up. It's
something he's had in his brain for the whole time and just didn't explain it. And the question becomes like, why did we need to be explained?
Right.
So the next biggest argument, there's two more like big arguments, because I'm not going super deep into the anger on midichlorians because we both are not super into it. And there's a lot more of that out there than there is support for them. But
sure,
I want to just do the main things. And the second biggest one is it muddies the waters. So making it not like, because we didn't really need to explain the Force, but now that we've explained it, it now still doesn't make sense. Because he's muddied the waters, make us, now we actually think like, so what is it? So according to Gizmodo, did an article called "The Real Problem with Midichlorians," states, but midichlorians actually contradict its explanation. All of a sudden, instead of there being an energy field that binds the galaxy together, there are little microscopic life forms inside of the Jedi, allowing them to do what? What do the microscopic entities have to do with the galaxy-wide life force? Are they like symbiotes that allow you to connect to the energy field? If the Force is in every living thing, then why do only some people have midichlorians? Does the dark side of the Force have different flavored midichlorians than the light side? And they're not an explanation you can build on, which is even worse. You can build a whole architecture on top of an energy field that connects all living things. And the original trilogy did quite well. But you can't build on top of microscopic critters in the blood.
Yeah, another good point. You know, when you add something so absolute, I guess, is that, as there's critters in the blood, then there's no wiggle room. You know, there's no, it's just, you basically it just restricts you.
Yes, no, it limits your images. It limits your own imagination.
Exactly.
And I'll say that's where I struggle with them, is because I'll say, and this is where I might get people like some kind of hate or whatever. A lot of people get mad, or they say like, well, the Clone Wars explains midichlorians. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. But my problem with that is, why introduce this into the movies when you don't explain it in the movies? Not everybody's going to watch the Clone Wars.
Right.
Like, they're just not. And so and there are like hardcore fans that are not going to watch the Clone Wars. And so like to say that you're not a true fan for not watching the Clone Wars, I think is ridiculous. But like to say the only way it makes sense is through the Clone Wars, that to me just doesn't make sense. It's like you're creating something that can limit everybody else, and you're saying you have to go do your homework. You have to go investigate elsewhere. Or you have to listen to George Lucas's interviews, because he explains it. He's like, oh, it's a connection with the cosmic and the spiritual. And I'm like, I understand that, which is great for you, George. Cosmic and living force are never mentioned in the trilogy, in the prequel trilogy, in the movies. They're never mentioned.
Yep.
And so you're like, what is this connection to anything? Like, and I really like the connection of the difference between cosmic and living force. I like it. I mean, I enjoy that aspect of the animation and everything. But like, you're limiting. You're like, you have to watch this to understand the movies.
Yeah.
And you're just like, that doesn't make sense. You're asking people to do too much work to understand like one line that just can, to some people, ruin a movie and ruin a series.
Yes.
Of like,
absolutely.
So that's my argument on it.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. And that's, that's one of the reasons, the like with the Marvel movies too.
Yep.
You have to see every other Marvel movie in order for the one you're seeing currently to make 100% sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So I totally agree with the idea that you shouldn't have to see every single tiny piece of Star Wars lore in order to have an understanding or enjoyment of it.
Right. So, because I mean, there's different levels of fans. There's different things. Like some people just don't like TV shows, and like I'll go into this a little later, but like the big argument is Clone Wars is for kids. So
Yeah.
so if you want that, like that's totally fine, and I'll accept that argument. Clone Wars is for kids. So then don't expect older people, like older adults, to watch that show for an explanation of something that they want. They don't understand it. And like I want an explanation. You're like, well, watch the Clone Wars. Well, I don't like the Clone Wars. Well, it's a kid's show. Well, which is it? It's, you can't expect them to watch it if it's like, I don't like it. I don't like that double argument. It's people, they're like, so, but we'll get into that a little more because that will come after Attack of the Clones. We'll get into the Clone Wars arguments, but yes. And there is another, there's another piece that CBR.com actually brings it up. And he explained, they explained, there's a reason that Star Wars explains what the Force is the very first time we hear about its existence. It's part of the setup. We're not supposed to sit around wondering what the Force is, except to the extent that we see it. See Luke learning how to use it. Luke's lessons in the Force are our way into understanding its subtleties. But the overarching question of what is the Force, we know that from square one. Turning this ineffable and vaguely spiritual energy into a bunch of tiny creatures that whisper the universe's secrets to special people was seen as weird at best and a nonsensical cop-out that ruined everything at worst. So that's going along on the same lines of it doesn't.
It's a it's a cop-out.
It doesn't explain things really well. And so and this is leaving well enough alone. And I will say that this is from the same CBR article, but this is George Lucas talking about the wills. I don't know how much the wills. I don't know if you know what you know about the wills. They are basically like originally it was the will, like the will of the Force is wills is an actual. They were actually beings that they were actually, and they oversaw. This is George's original idea that they oversaw like the entire galaxy and everything.
Okay.
So I'll let him explain that, and I'll go into a little bit of detail. But the wills are the ones who actually control the universe. They feed off the Force. Life forms, meanwhile, be they Jedi or Sith, or bounty hunters, or mechanics, or simply vehicles for the wills to travel around in. And the conduit is the Midichlorians. The Midichlorians are the ones that communicate with the wills. The wills, in a general sense, they are the Force. So basically he's saying the Force isn't anything. The Force isn't an energy field.
It's
a bunch of people.
It's
beings. So, and also I know that, and this again could totally be hearsay, but I'm pretty sure that George actually said it, that if he had done the sequel trilogy, his sequel trilogy would have focused on the wills. And he would have gone more microscopic and like gone into that. So while we didn't get the best sequel trilogy, I personally think it's better than that. So that's my opinion.
Oh, but, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
George.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to be a very fun guy to talk about. But anyway, how is your opinions on anything? Anything changed?
Well, I will say that I can see now how they can serve a purpose. They do have a purpose, and I can see how that does improve some areas and aspects of the prequels and stuff and the Star Wars universe in general. But I still think I am in the camp of still not necessary. You know,
Yep.
it just you're putting the restraint on people's imagination, and you're confining them to this fact, and there's no other way, there's no other discussion, there's no other debate. This is how the Force works, and this is what it's caused by, and who, you know, and so that's it. And it's like, okay, well, that kind of sucks, because it's like, well, now, you know, now the mystery is gone, and now it's left me sort of just, it's a letdown.
Yeah. But
yeah,
you have to remember, this is from our second episode where we talked about the 1997 reshoots. It's his movie. It's his vision.
Yeah.
It's
nobody
not
else
yours. It's not the fans. It's his.
Nope. It's mine.
So he can do whatever he wants with it.
Yep.
So, but it sounds like I pulled you more towards the middle, where like you not necessarily a benefit, but like you're not as upset about them as you were.
Yes.
And so like you can headcanon them, yeah. And so like you might not, if I bring up midichlorians, you might not just go, ugh. But it's
Correct.
still not a great thing. No. So.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So if you would like to contact us, you may do so through Twitter at WhoShot1SWPod. That's WhoShot1SWPod. Or through email at WhoShotFirstSWPod@gmail.com. That's WhoShotFirstSWPod@gmail.com. And next week, I'm actually doing an interview with one of my friends, Shamim Mashrafzadeh. And so that will be our next week's episode. But the week after that, or our next episode after that, will be, drum roll, Attack of the Clones!
Okay.
We have finished one prequel.
That's right.
So get to dive into that wonderfulness.
Oh boy. Yes, wonderfulness is a great word.
Yes. So please join us next time. And as always, never tell us the odds.
Never tell me the odds.
People are counting on us. The galaxy is counting on us. Solo, we'll figure it out. We'll use the Force. That's not how the Force works. Oh, really? You're cold?
Don't you turn against me.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
You're not with me, then you're my enemy.
You turned her against me!
You have done that yourself.
Release your anger. Only your hatred can destroy me.
Bring balance to the force, not leave it in darkness. You are the chosen one.